Okay. All right. Thank you, Amira. Good morning and thank you for joining today's Ag Commission meeting today. I call this meeting to order at 12:32, September 17th, 2025. And I will start with the roll call. Ag Commissioners, I will go down the roll call. When I call your name, please say present. You have joined virtually. Please unmute yourself and say present. Ag Commission Vice Chair Jeff McCullough. Ag Commission Member Catherine Bedell.
Present.
Thank you. Ag Commission Member David Block. Okay, Ag Commission Member Dr. Amanda Weaver.
I'm here.
Thank you. Ag Commission Member Elena Miller-Cooley.
Present.
Thank you. Ag Commission Member Harrison Top.
Present.
Okay, thank you, Harrison. Ag Commission Member Nick Trainer.
Present.
Thank you. Ag Commission Member Colleen Pepler.
Here.
All right, thank you, everyone. Okay, as opening remarks, we will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation. Today's meeting is being recorded and can be viewed online at CDA's YouTube channel. The public can join today's Ag Commission meeting through the Zoom webinar. Before we proceed, I want to review some guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Each time you speak, please identify yourself. At this time, we'll move forward into the meeting and for the approval of meeting agenda.
And Simon, I did have one amendment to put forward for the agenda for today, if
Okay.
the board would entertain it. So for this year, we changed our board cadence to every other month, which means our next meeting is our annual meeting in November. And in our annual meeting, we elect officers for the Ag Commission. And per our bylaws, I need to select a nominating committee of 2 of you to help select who you want to put forward to be nominated for that officer vote in November. So since we don't have an October meeting, I wanted to add the selection of the nominating committee to today's agenda. And I was thinking Bethany is not able to join us, so if we could just replace that 1:50 p.m. outreach opportunities with recruiting 2 volunteers to serve on the nominating committee and adapt the agenda as proposed, then I would entertain that for the board.
Okay, do we need to make a motion on that at this time or just add it in?
Would it just be a motion to approve agenda as amended?
Yes, and then
Would that be appropriate?
Yes. Is it on we can replace the 150 of outreach opportunities to recruit 2 members of committee members for that November 12th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, this is Colleen Pepler. I move that we approve today's meeting agenda as amended.
Okay.
This is
motion
Catherine
made.
Bell. I'll second it.
Thank you, Catherine. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, none seen. We'll make that change on the meeting agenda. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Kate. So we'll move into now the approval of the meeting agenda.
I think of the meeting minutes, Simon.
Okay, the meeting minutes now. Approval of July meeting minutes.
Chairman, this is Catherine Bedell. I move that we approve the July meeting minutes.
I'll second. This is Amanda.
All right, first made by Catherine, second by Amanda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. All opposed, same sign. None seen, motion carries. So that covers the meeting agenda, the July meeting minutes, and we'll move into public comment. And I think Kate, for one, on the public comment, you wanted to address the state fair, is it?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yep, but public comment for any non-agenda
Yes.
item issue is open. Yep.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move into commissioners' update. Kate, thank you.
Super. Thank you, Simon, and great being with you all as always. I am zooming in today from Northwest Arkansas, where we are just wrapping up the annual meeting for the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, or NASDA. So I've been with my commissioner, secretary, and director colleagues from all across the U.S., as well as Guam, Puerto Rico, Mariana Islands, all the territories were here represented as well. Really great couple of days here in Arkansas, just talking about all kinds of big issues that we are all dealing with. I won't go into too much depth, but I did want to talk a little bit just to kind of set the context, because I'll be diving into some updates on the department. Of course, we operate just like you all do in a much larger ag environment that we don't control, but that we have to navigate. And whether that's, changes at the federal level, whether that's the ag economy, there's plenty going on right now that we are all figuring out how to navigate. I would say one presentation yesterday that stuck with me that I think you all are living every single day was an update from CoBank on the status of the ag economy writ large. And a lot going on. And again, I won't get into the nitty gritty, but the bottom line from the CoBank presentation was continues to be growing concern for the ag economy writ large. Of course, we're seeing continued just super high cattle prices that are kind of clouding some of the more distress signals that are embedded in the economy right now that CoBank and others are tracking. I think I was just talking to some private sector colleagues in the ag industry who are already seeing members suffer bankruptcies, go out of business. Of course, what we're dealing with inflation, with tariffs, with the cost of borrowing, with just the supply chain issues we're facing, with the cost of inputs, and then of course crop prices being where they are, below break even. Soybeans are not moving. I know that doesn't impact Colorado, but for our partners to the east and in the Midwest of the country, really big deal right now, just given the constraints in the supply chain, the global supply chain. So those factors, among many others, have just made certainly lenders as well as other folks who really live and exist inside sort of the macro ag economy really concerned. And we know these trend lines have been with us for a little while, but this has definitely been a top of mind discussion here. That 2026 in particular is already looking to be a tough year. We know producers are making tough decisions, especially on the crop side. So just want to put that in context that while those of us here do not have a magic wand to solve for those macro or even microeconomic problems that we live within, it is part of our context and something that we are obviously, play a part in or need to be aware of, and then chip away where we can on some of those major issues. So on that front, one way that we can chip away is with expanding market opportunities for our producers, our number one wildly important goal or strategic area of focus. Just about a week and a half ago, both Catherine and I were in Mexico City with a Colorado delegation of cattle women that we led through CDA upon invitation from the Mexican cattle women. So when the Mexican contingent was back in January, they were here in Denver or over in Colorado in Denver at the stock show where we host a Canada, Mexico, Colorado cattle buying get together. And the Mexican cattle women invited us to Mexico. We took them up on it. And I just had a fantastic 3-day delegation. So as myself, Catherine here with us, our Ag Commission member, Dr. Maggie Baldwin, our state veterinarian, Jody Rogers, and Nikki Weathers from Yuma. Nikki is on our state fair board, and Jody on our brand board, and Aaron Spohr who's the executive vice president of Colorado Cattlemen's. And we were supported by Ashley Warsh, our amazing international team member, as well as Nora Gonzalez, who's our contractor in Mexico. 3 days of business meetings. We met with the National Ag Council in Mexico, essentially the equivalent of NCBA, National Cattlemen's Beef. We met with the head of Senacica, which is essentially the equivalent to APHIS, and discussed New World screwworm management and mitigation now that Mexico has screwworm. And in fact, I just got to meet today with the Deputy Undersecretary for Marketing and Regulatory Programs at USDA, which oversees APHIS. She had the exact same story as Mexico. So the collaboration that's going on between the US and Mexico to hold screwworm to the southeast corner of Mexico and prevent northern spread. Same story on either side of the border with both partners who are leading that effort. So that was heartening to hear. But of course, in Colorado, Dr. Baldwin's not resting on her heels. We've been doing lots of planning to prevent screwworm from arriving and be prepared if and when it does. In addition, just great opportunity to hit our 3 goals for the mission. 1, recommitting our friendship between Colorado and Mexico. 2, looking for business opportunities. So I know there's going to be some follow-up on the cattle side. And 3, elevating women in leadership. This is a full women's-led delegation. We were actually also there with a female entrepreneur delegation led by OEDIT, our Office of Economic Development and International Trade, and just a really great opportunity to elevate Colorado's leadership. Catherine, anything you want to say real quick on the trip?
No, I thought it was great, and we sure visited a lot of offices and got a lot of input. There was a lot for the cattle women. The top topic was the New World screwworm, because it's really impacting Mexican cattle raisers to not be able to import that 1.3 million head of cattle a year. The cattle women we met with were all from the north, and so they were severely impacted. The north is where most of the larger cattle ranches are located. As you go further south, they're more mom and pops because it's more tropical type climate. So, really 2 different sectors of the same industry in Mexico. But it was really great. And we're definitely going to continue the conversation with the cattle women in Mexico.
Super. Well, thank you, Catherine. And more on that one to come, but just another great example of what CDA can do to help expand our relationships abroad. And since the last time that we met, there's been a lot to celebrate. Of course, I started off with kind of doom and gloom and some of the tough stuff, but back last month, we celebrated the 80th birthday of our Palisade insectary out in Palisade. So that's 80 years of good bugs doing great work. That's our biocontrol, and just really fun. We had the governor out, the mayor, the town council, the fire chief. I mean, there was not somebody there who wasn't excited about CDA's work on bugs. So just keep spreading the word. We've got a request a bug program. We're getting good bugs out over the state. Of course, we also had the state fair since we last saw each other, which wrapped up on Labor Day, and lots to go into there. Really just a fantastic year. We had weather delays at least 3 nights, which for those of you who know Pueblo, know how unusual it is to have not only thunderstorms and rain, but 70-degree weather. So our team just rolled with it, but just want to give a huge shout out to Andrea Wiesenmeyer, our new-ish GM. This was her first state fair, and she and the team just did a phenomenal job with everything from rolling with the weather to the acts to the competitions and all the stuff that you can't predict that comes up during a fair. We had the junior livestock auction brought in about $508,000 for the youth who competed. We had a great governor's plate with Brother Luck, who was our celebrity chef who helped announce the awardees. And then, of course, Centennial Farm and Ranch event, where we got to recognize Ben Rainbolt for the Ag Legacy Award on my behalf, and Dr. Matsushima, as well as, I think, 18 Centennial Farm and Ranch families that day. Prior to that, I've been out in the field a lot of time on the western slope. Of course, wolves, wildfire, water, our big W's always playing out west of the Rockies. Dr. Baldwin and I spent a couple days with Bethany Howell as well in the Roaring Fork. So met with producers who are kind of in the epicenter of where there's wolf activity right now, or at least have been over the summer. Really great visit. Also met with farmers in the area and just talking about a local regional agriculture, access to markets, young and beginning farmers, a lot of the issues we deal with. So plenty of travel over the summer. Of course, when it comes to what CDA has been focusing on in terms of issues, I mentioned our markets and trade work. So our international team is hustling. Our local food teams are hustling on local food access. Our Climate Smart Marketing program is doing a fantastic job connecting Colorado companies to buyers that have the same ethos around climate resilience and stewardship. On the stewardship front, a few updates. We just in August announced our first round of our Climate Resilient Grant recipients, new grant program focused on supporting producers who have experienced or may experience high-risk disasters related to climate change. We've got a new round of agrivoltaic grant recipients out there. Robert Sakata is all over the state as usual, representing us on water and some big water things going on, especially this week down in Durango with the CWCB meeting. We are getting ready to roll out our Ag Stewardship Tax Credit, so that will take place next year. 2026 is the first year that folks will be eligible to apply for that tax credit. We'll have a lot more information coming out over the next few weeks and couple months, but just know that folks should be getting ready for this if they are eligible and interested in applying. The cap on this program is about $3 million. It's not much. So we are anticipating being very quickly oversubscribed, but we want to be sure that everyone knows this program is coming online here very soon. So we'll be sure and get you all updated information that you can share with your constituents. And then lastly, on stewardship, I just want to give a quick update on where we are with what was formerly known as the Climate Smart Commodities Grant Program. That was our $25 million we received from the USDA for our soil health program and for market access. That program was terminated by the USDA earlier this spring in April. We were invited to apply under a new program called AMP, or Advancing Markets for Producers. We have reapplied under that new program, but we are negotiating on some terms right now. The terms we got back from USDA are pretty tough to stomach right now. They've took away pretty much all of our federal staff capacity to run the program, but have really restricted our ability to work through other entities like conservation districts to distribute funds, while kind of reinterpreting our previously held exemption for some of the NEPA requirements. So essentially, we're trying to figure out how can we navigate the new environmental regulatory requirements in the program with fewer contracted support, like through conservation districts. So we're hopeful that we're going to get there. We've had some really productive conversations with USDA leadership on what that might look like. That amount of money we're going for is about $15 million for market access and soil stewardship for Colorado farmers. So just know that we're really pushing on that front, but we want to make sure it's feasible for our producers. Kind of going down the list of our initiatives, markets, stewardship now on NextGen. I'm really excited to share just an update about a program that we've launched as a pilot this year. It's part of our NextGen kind of continuum of services we've been building. In the last few years, we've built a STEM education program in our lab for high school and middle school students. We've got our Ag Workforce Development Program for paid apprenticeships, our revolving loan fund for beginning farmer land access, our succession planning support effort for multi-gen farmers and ranchers who are looking to do that succession planning work. And now this new program it's targeted toward ag workers who are looking to become business owners. So how do you get from working on somebody else's operation to running your own? And the program is called Yo Soy de Rancho, or I'm from the ranch in Spanish. And our team, led by Aldo Parra in Mark Gallegos' shop in ICS, is leading that effort. Really excited about that. We've got about 20 folks enrolled. It's going to be a year-long program, business development program. And we're working with our partners at OEDIT and agencies like the Small Business Development Center that are putting on the courses to, again, what does it take to go from working for somebody else to understanding taxes, finance, business, et cetera, marketing, all the things you need. So really excited to add that to kind of our next gen portfolio. And then on animal health and welfare, our range riders, talking about wolves, our range riders, Jesse and Shelby, have just been nonstop this whole summer, working alongside our livestock producers out on the Western Slope. Just hats off to that team. They've done amazing work. We talked a little bit about screwworm, New World screwworm. Happy to talk about that more, but just know that we are monitoring it. There is no detection, knock on wood, on U.S. soil. That would be a really big deal. But just know that everyone who's involved is taking that very seriously, as we are with everything else that's on our horizon, well, on our radar. I shouldn't say horizon, but in our awareness, like foot and mouth disease, African swine fever, foreign animal disease issues that are not here, but we know that they could be. And so we're doing everything we can to prepare, to prevent, to mitigate, and to keep not just national, but global partnerships alive and well, because that's what it takes to do the response. And then, Robert, in addition to his work on water, continues to lead our rural mental health work. He is out and about, and our next meeting is September 23rd at 1:00, and that's virtual. So that's my report. Plenty going on. I know Hollis will have more. Just want to say that, as we continue to kind of navigate the uncertainty out there in the environment, navigate the challenges on the economic side, that CDA, we've really been building and growing our resources to serve all kinds of people in ag. And some programs are tailored specific to certain demographics or certain types of producers, but we really want CDA to be a place for everyone in ag to find something that works for them to help them grow their business or sustain their business in agriculture. So with that, we are really just looking forward to what's ahead. And as always, appreciate the Ag Commission's guidance and input as we move forward. So with that, Simon, I'll pause and happy to answer any questions.
It looks like Nick has a question.
Thank you.
Kate, I guess circling back to the stewardship tax credit, I've got a couple of phone calls. I can't remember what the meeting was out east, but they kind of did an overview of the stewardship tax credit. And this is secondhand information, but I just wanted to verify. There was some concern about the $3 million cap, but then a $300,000 cap per producer. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. And maybe Jordan or Hollis, if you have more details that you want to offer, please jump in.
Yes, this is Jordan Beasley. That is correct, and I'll drop a link in here to our webpage that has a lot more information on the tax credit. But there is that overall $3 million cap that we can't issue more than a total of $3 million, and then the payments per producer are based upon certain practices and the number of acres that those practices are implemented on, and there is a cap per individual taxpayer that's applying.
Is it 300,000, Jordan?
Yes.
Okay. The concern that I got from, and with the budget where it's at and everything else, not the $3 million part, but the $300,000 cap. I mean, shoot, 10 large producers could wipe out that whole budget, and I just wonder, is there any way we can put some stop gaps in there to ensure that that's spread across more people and, making sure we're not, because I'm sure the big operators, you flash 300,000 in front of them, they're gonna be on the ball on that thing. Have we got some stop gaps in place to make sure we're spreading those dollars around to new and beginning, smaller operators, and some way to control that a little bit?
A very good question. That was a big part of the conversation when the legislation was originally passed, and I think there is an attempt by all parties involved in this to try to strike that balance of where, um, there could be a large enough dollar amount to where large operators might want to implement big changes across their operation because of the credit, while also putting some limit on it so that we could try to spread the credit out as much as possible. So those limitations are set in statute right now, and so we as an agency don't have a whole lot of ability to change that or kind of put guardrails specifically on that. But it certainly was part of the conversation when the bill was originally passed.
Okay.
And to that point, though, that $300,000 limit, I think, was kind of talked about and negotiated when the original overall cap on the program was about $10 million. And in kind of late negotiations, in order to get the bill across the finish line, it got reduced from that 10 million down to 3 million. And so, yeah, that unfortunately that was just kind of part of the legislative process.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to let you know that I got some calls on that, and it is kind of concerning on this end too. I think it's a great program and has the ability to. I'd like to see it have a bigger reach than potentially just 10 operators.
Yeah, Nick, and on that point, I would certainly let folks know that we do have the statutory constraints that Jordan mentioned, and that this first year especially, we're going to learn a lot, and that what you all are hearing or experiencing in the field with any of our programs the same way, please bring it back to us, because if the statute isn't working, I mean, you all get to see and vote on the rules, but if the statute itself isn't working, we want to know that too, and be able to bring those concerns back to the legislature that can make the change as well. So please do let us let us know what you're hearing.
Certainly.
All right. Thank you, Nick. Any other questions at this time for Commissioner Greenberg? Okay, seeing none, thank you for the update, Commissioner Greenberg, and we'll move on into operations update with Hollis.
Okay. Well, good morning or afternoon. Thank you, Simon. Hello, commissioners. Thanks. Good to see so many of you online and seeing you so many last time in person back in Rifle. That seemed so long ago. For my updates, I'll start with this kind of high level overview, strategic. Looking at the strategic plan, the benefit really is hearing Kate give her high level update at the beginning of these, and a lot of the strategic actions that we're either advanced, greatly advanced, or have recently completed. You get to hear the benefits of those projects, I think, from kind of Kate's updates and the great work that we're doing across the agency in the different directions that we do. But we're in September, so new fiscal year, new set of fiscal strategic actions that our agency is focusing on. Currently, right now, tentatively, for this fiscal year, we are setting the goal of 27 strategic actions in our strategic plan to complete this fiscal year. Currently, right now, we've completed 6 in the first, almost 3 months. We are still tweaking and doing a refresh of our strategic plan. A lot of these actions are efforts or initiatives that we came up with a year and a half ago, maybe even longer, part of a larger effort. And we've noticed, obviously, the ground can shift on programs, things change, external forces. And so a lot of our divisions are doing a refresh and looking at what they're working on, what are the priorities, what are those external forces, and doing a little refresh of what our strategic actions are going to be this year and then even beyond, and just calibrating and coordinating. So we're doing a little bit of a refresh of our strategic plan for fiscal year 26. So even though right now we're saying we're going to complete 27, that number may change a little bit. But as of right now, if I look at our dashboard, we've completed 26 out of 27 strategic actions for this fiscal year. So we're off to a good start. Looking at kind of some of the other program highlights since we last met. Again, of course, Kate mentioned really a really great, successful state fair from our first time GM, Andrea Wiesenmeyer. And then, of course, the Ag Worker Service Program, launching that new pilot for next gen ag leaders in our workforce. But what I want to talk a little bit about and give a little bit more detail is the brand inspection fee increase that is going to be going to in effect on October 1. And commissioners, just to refresh your memory, the State Board of Stock Inspection Commissioners approved an increase in the brand inspection fees. And this is an increase of, the brand inspection fees as well as the assessment fees. And this is to offset basically a $2.8 million budget deficit in the brand inspection program. This increase in inspection fees are going to be going into effect on October 1st. And then the assessment fee, it's a 5-year assessment fee, that will be effective in January. And this was done through rulemaking that you've been a part of and aware of over the course of the last 6 months. So this is the first time we've raised the fees since 2016 and 2017. The brand board, Commissioner Todd Angley and the brands team have been working really hard, communicating with our industry partners and communicating the changes, the increases of these fees to our ranchers, our sale barns, lots of extensive, robust communication plans. That's really been the key, I think, to a smooth transition or increase in these fees during this whole process. And so they haven't really deviated from that formula. And so they've provided and are doing a lot more engagement, particularly working with local associations, letting those ranchers know, making sure everyone knows, down to brand inspectors talking one-on-one with producers, giving them the fee sheet increases, really letting people know well in advance of that October 1 deadline. We have prepared a one-pager of information. Of course, it's on our website. We'll provide you, commissioners, also a follow-up, and I'll include a link here to that one-pager should you have anyone that you're interacting with ask you questions about the fee increase for brand inspections. So we'll provide that to you here a little bit later here, and then in the follow-up email. Second program I want to draw your attention to as an opportunity to coming our way is in the Colorado Proud program. And some of you may aware it comes around every September and October, every fall, but the Colorado Proud has always done the Colorado Proud School Meal Day. Well, I'm excited to announce that Colorado Proud School Meal Day has definitely outgrown its roots. And so we are now Colorado Proud Farm to School Meal Month in October. So we are going from a day to a month. And so for those who don't know, October is then designated as National Farm to School Meal Month. Really a time to celebrate, educate students about healthy meal, importance of all local sourced food. CDA is teaming up with the Colorado Department of Education to provide technical assistance, educational resources, opportunities for Colorado schools to participate in a month-long program bringing Colorado Ag into their schools meal cooking, as well as educational programming. Schools can get involved hosting educational activities in school gardens, arranging taste tests, inviting local farmers, ranchers to come speak to students, getting farm tours featuring ag in the classroom. Colleen, that's for you. A key event, actually, and I got to learn more about this one. This sounds actually interesting. We're participating in something called the Mountain Plains Crunch Off, which is going to be a competition where Colorado is competing with our neighboring states to compete to see who can log in the most crunches of fresh local produce by our students. So the competition aims to drive getting local food onto school lunch trays, support local economies, and help students make informed food choices. So I checked with Danielle Trotta, who program manager for Colorado Proud, and Amanda. And so we are working on getting more information out to schools. Right now, we're recruiting schools to sign up on our website. And as more information comes available, we're happy to pass this along. And again, I'll include information to the Ag Commission, the website, so you can pass it along. So if you know of any schools that are interested, they can certainly sign up, and we'll be happy to see how we can further support them in participating in Colorado Proud Farm to School Meal Month. Just a couple other little bits and pieces for your awareness, and maybe looking back behind the scenes, away from programs, but what we do behind the scenes here at CDA and just awareness. So Jordan will talk a little bit here about, I'm assuming, kind of budget and budget impacts on the state and with CDA and budget cuts. But one thing that we're adjusting to is that there is a hiring freeze in the state that was implemented through an executive order. And so we're making our adjustments. And just like many things as far as our budget and making sure that we are right sizing our programs and right sizing our staff, and we're always wanting to make sure that we're doing that appropriately. We are also going to making sure that we are identifying those positions that are providing that essential services of safety and health support, both for our animals, for humans, as well as for agricultural businesses and ag economy, like Kate was opening remarks was saying. So we're identifying those key positions at CDA that do those services and that support that are critical. Should we have a vacancy during this hiring freeze, that we can look for and seek exemptions, because there is a road for that pathway. So we make sure that we don't lose a step in providing that support to our producers. One thing that has happened recently since we last met, we had a successful activation of our elevated safety protocols due to a credible threat to an employee staff on the Broomfield campus. For a very number of years, from time to time, we deal with unhappy members of the public, and those are handled pretty accordingly. But unfortunately, over the last couple of months, we dealt with a couple that just seemed to be a little higher than normal as far as a kind of concern and awareness. And really proud of our team working with local law enforcement and our AGs and our attorneys, and as a team, just kind of really elevating security protocol on the campus to make sure our staff feeling secure, feeling safe, and making sure those extra efforts of awareness and protocols are in place. I've never had to get to that level. We've never had to be in that kind of level of protocol. So it's really good exercise for us to actually be in that state of awareness for a couple weeks. And I'm happy to report that the concerns, the threats have significantly diminished successfully. And so we've returned back to kind of office as normal. So I'm very proud of our team. Safety for our staff is priority number one. Something else that our senior leaders and also staff we've begun to do at CDA, probably like every other office and agency probably around the country, is we beginning to have discussions about the use and then governance of AI, use of AI at CDA, and how do we use it responsibly, effectively, and all of the governance and philosophical questions about AI in our work. How do we make it efficient? How do we make sure it's secure? How do we take care of people's data? So amazing conversations that we're having as a leadership team, and we're going to continue having those conversations throughout the year as we begin to form kind of a governance structure around the use of AI. And we'll keep Ag Commission updated as that conversation evolves. And then finally, just to celebrate, in October, the senior management team, we're going to be holding our senior management retreat in early October. These are great retreats. It's an opportunity for all the division directors and Ag Commission leadership. We get together offsite and we really brainstorm and begin to think about some deep themes and concepts that we are going to want to focus on as an agency, internally as well as externally. Previous retreats have, resulted in the development of our core values, our focusing on safety, our ideas about onboarding staff and bringing in culture and advancing culture into how we onboard staff. So our next retreat, early October, can't wait to share with Ag Commission in November kind of what this new retreat's going to bring and what we'll be focusing on in this upcoming year. As we look into kind of celebrating the 150, 250 year in FY26. So that is what I have as far as operational updates, and happy to answer any questions you all may have. And I'll provide information about the farm to school program as well as the brand inspection piece.
Okay, thank you, Hollis. Is there any questions at this time? Okay, we'll continue on. Thank you, Hollis. We'll move into Regional Assistant Commissioner updates. I'll go down through here. Riley May, are you on?
Yes, sir, Simon. Thank
Hello,
you.
Riley. Thank you.
So I've been a little bit slow here this summer for me as far as my regional assistant job, but I've been working with the regional partnership and trying to make that work here in Southeast Colorado, and just been having a lot of meetings and reorganization on that, hoping to get some outdoor and agriculture influence in our area of the state a little bit more available for the general public. And then as far as anything else, Simon, I mean, yeah, it's tough. As Kate was saying about the markets earlier, the cattle are doing pretty good. But as everyone knows, these commodity prices are extremely tough. And I know that it's a real problem. And here in my day-to-day life, I know of several people who are truly looking at, business ending decisions based on how they are not able to market their crops more than anything. It's sad to see, and I hope that it changes as we all do. But just I've reminded people, that this group several times, as you all know too, but that's what we're all about, is keeping agriculture and production in Colorado. And I think we need to keep that at the top of our minds. And I'm not saying we aren't doing that, but just my reminder. That's about all I have though, Simon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Riley, for that update. Maybe we'll all see each other here come November. Nick Purchase.
Good afternoon, Ag Commission.
Nick.
Oh, there, can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Ag Commission. At this time, I don't have any significant updates for you.
Okay, thank you for joining us today, Nick. Joe Stanko, are you on Zoom today?
I don't think Joe's with us, Simon.
All right, thank you, Amira. George?
Good afternoon. It's
Hello,
good to
George.
see you all. Yeah, been a while since I've been on, I think. But yeah, here it's, we've had a really dry summer. Potato harvest is just getting started. Digging seed potatoes right now mostly, and starting to move a few of those. The crops are really good here, and I guess they're good in Idaho as well. And potato prices are fairly depressed, I think, right now, not doing real well. But they do have a great crop. coming up, and that all looks good. Barley's all pretty much all in. And the hay, they're getting ready to do third cutting on hay because it wasn't terribly rainy. The first cutting of hay was great. The second cutting got some rain, I think, and people are kind of fighting to get this third cutting. There's been a little bit of rain here lately. We've had maybe about 1.5 inches in the last month. Before that, we had nothing. We moved all of our cattle off the BLM about 2 weeks ago due to just a short feed supply, and then our drinking water for the cattle was getting critical. Since then, had success in drilling a well up there and installing a big storage tank. And so we're just finishing that project up. We got some help for that through the Habitat Protection Plan, wildlife deal, and then the Grazing Advisory Board helped us a little bit with that. Spent about 40 grand of my own money on that, and we'll get reimbursed for some of that anyway. I gave a presentation at the Crestone Energy Fair here the other day about agriculture generally, and that was pretty well received. And Elena also gave a great presentation on her textile. I'll let her give a report on that when she gets around to it. But so yeah, that's been kind of it. Just this morning, there were about 30 high school students from Center High School and Del Norte High School who were focused on soil health. And so it was really great to have all those high school kids out, and we dug some soil pits and talked about management of livestock on grasslands, and it was just a lot of fun to see on. They're really focused. I was really impressed by their focus and their energy. On our apprentice program, where our apprentice Jessie Malovitz has been here 6 months. She's going to be here till November, and our second year apprentice unfortunately got very ill about a month ago and wound up went from thinking he had a kidney stone to being in surgery in Denver in about 48 hours. And he's back home in Cincinnati with his family, and it turns out he's going to be fully recovered. He has no cancer. They were able to get it all, and so I'm hopeful to get him back here at some point when he gets healed up. And that was a big shock for all of us. We kind of had a tough time there, but that's been about it for around here, I think. But good to see all your faces.
Thank you, George.
And
Good to see
Simon,
yours. Yes, ma'am.
Joe did join.
Okay, good. Thank you, George. Joe, you on?
Sorry, I'm late. Sometimes you have cow time, which means that's when the cows decide to get on the railroad track, and it takes a little longer to get them off than you like, but you have to get them off. And then I had another meeting. Things are doing our typical fall things. People are around finishing up with haying. Most people up here have found a shortage. We ourselves are luckily, we prepared for it in the fall, in the spring. So we signed up for the FSA program on hay. Turned out most dryland hay up in this area was nothing. I mean, literally nothing. And even the irrigated land, even though a lot of people didn't get as much as we did because we have such a high water priority, but we're still down below average of what we got from last year. So it's been an interesting hay season. The cattle across the area are drifting down onto the meadows or being brought back home on the meadows a little bit at a time. Some are still up in the high country, depending on how much water they got on their different allotments or their leases. We have half the cattle home, and the other half are still up behind Steamboat Lake, where it's kind of nice. That's one of the problems when you have an old cattle herd, meaning continuous for 3 generations. They come home when they decide to come home, and they know how to get there, even though you don't want them there. So the paths that are home came home, said, "We're here." It's like, oh darn. So it's working out there. Everybody's having their fall meetings winding up since work is growing slowly. There are more and more meetings. Our local farm bureau had a meeting last night. I did make, we've got they're having some problems with the local farmers union, trying to find an office of president and a leader. It's just, cattle women are holding their own, and our cattlemen's organization is having a little trouble getting some things going. I had an opportunity to take a trip down to Gunnison and going past many of the irrigated the reservoirs, and they're all low. They're not a single one is full. They're all low. So we're hoping for a lot of rain coming. I did send out to some of you the BLM letter. George, I sent you a copy of it, didn't I? This is the letter that the BLM, it comes from the Department of Interior. This is the one that people will be receiving if they're in a drought area from their local BLM offices, describing shortages, next year's plans, processes to deal with this drought and their allotments. It's considerable, a lot of things to do. I went to Gunnison to attend the that BLM recreation summit, and that was kind of an interesting meeting. Mainly it was a lot of the BLM people from the area, plus the local Parks and Wildlife, plus the local Forest Service. And being in Gunnison, there was a number of students there, and in some of the NGOs were there. The Continental Divide Trail was there. The couple of the NGOs, the biodiversity group was there, and I was the only rancher. But we did have some interesting conversations, and mostly the recreation that was represented was biking. There was some indications from some of the biking groups that they were considering being willing to pay some fees. We had a conversation on what would we say to loving our land to death, and the need for asking people what they wanted their children to look to the future, what they wanted their children's experiences to be on the public lands in 20 or 30 years, because the way it is now with so much usage, not just usage, but recreational usage, it looked like it was definitely going to be, they're looking at potential for going like some of the park services, Rocky Mountain National Park, about possibly paying additional fees or having times that you can sign up for to attend. A lot of the discussion was the diversified camping and the impacts on the BLM, not just on producers. I did get them, I felt pretty proud, get them to talk about looking forward to the kind of signage that needs to be installed in regard to not only our upcoming the impacts on growing number of livestock guardian dogs that are likely to be on BLM land as our wolf population talks, but also talking about rights of way. The horseback rider has a right over the hiker that has a right of way over a biker, kind of thing, but also how to approach livestock and what to do and not do with livestock when you encounter them on the public land. So I felt pretty proud of that. Upcoming, we've got the Open Council and the Northwest. We've got the open lands meeting up here, and I'll be speaking at that. We have the Northwest Colorado Development and Innovation meeting, annual meeting next week. We have the Cattle Women next week. And we have, I was just looking at my calendar since I'm running late. I had this morning before the cows decided to get out, we had the leafy spurge project for the Routt County discussion. And I do want to make a comment that I'll be going to the Fitch Brothers halter thing on the 30th. And I do want to make a comment that the Cattlemen's Association, which has normally had its meeting in the winter in January during the stock show, have moved the dates to the 20th and 23rd of November, I believe it is, which is about the same time as the State Farm Bureau and fall winter meeting and the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union meeting. So I think right now that looks like, I have a meeting with the Regenerative Roundhouse group on the 22nd, and I have a visitor coming next weekend from the University of Wyoming talking about ranching collaboratives, a person doing research for that. That's about all I've got right now, besides moving the rest of the cows home. Anybody want to come help drive a truck? I need horse trailers driven down from the mountains.
Any volunteers?
Yeah, come on up. Oh, I forgot one thing. We did have a very, very successful Ag in the Classroom seminar up here in Northwest Colorado. They had a lot of we had a lot of positive remarks. They did get Kirk Shiner help us release 1,250 head of sheep on the allotment on Rabbit Ears Pass. We went out to the Rotophilises and talked to them about how they function with their sheep one and the fiber mill. We got to talk with the BLM on public lands and the Colorado Parks and Wildlife on what public lands and activities could do. And we talked about the Farm Bill with CJ Mucklow, and Todd talked a lot about the role of the Extension Office and just what you can do when you're out in the wilds. So it was fun.
Good. Okay, well, thank you, Joe, for the update. And we'll move into legislative policy and budget updates with Jordan.
Thank you, Simon, and good to see all of you.
Did Elena go? Oh, no, she's not up. That's fine.
Number of updates for you all this month. So back in August, the legislature convened for a special session to address some of the impacts of H.R. 1, or the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was passed by Congress in July. Because Colorado's tax code is tied to our federal tax system, changes in that bill resulted in a reduction in tax collections by the state of Colorado to the tune of about $1.2 billion. So the legislature met for their special session to address that budget shortfall in this current fiscal year, which runs from July 1st of this year through the end of June 2026. There was essentially a three-part plan that was put together for addressing the budget shortfall. One was decoupling certain portions of the state income tax system from the federal income tax system, thus kind of generating new revenue or not reducing revenue that's collected by the state. The second was utilizing about $325 million of the state's reserve funds to fill that gap. And then the third piece of that was clarifying the governor's role or ability to make spending cuts without explicit legislative direction on those in the middle of a budget year. Subsequent to that legislative special session, the governor a couple of days later did announce a series of spending cuts that do impact this fiscal year. None of those spending cuts impact CDA directly. So again, we're kind of on track for continuing this current budget year as we expected, kind of starting in July. However, now that this current year's budget is balanced at this point, again, things can always change, especially as economic conditions change. And so if tax revenues, for example, go down because there's a recession or something like that, that could necessitate additional changes to this year's budget. So we're going to be watching kind of the legislatures and the governor's quarterly budget forecast very closely to see whether or not there's going to be any additional impacts on CDA's budget going forward this year. Next up, the Water Resources and Agricultural Review Committee, which is the year-round committee of the legislature, did meet on Monday of this week. Robert Cicada was there to help update the committee on CDA in the state's mental health work in rural and agricultural communities. He led a panel that also had representation from Rocky Mountain Farmers Union, Farm Bureau, CSU, as well as the Behavioral Health Administration. It was a fantastic conversation, and several of the legislators on the committee shared some of their personal experiences with challenges that they've had and family members and friends in our rural and agricultural communities that have taken their own lives. So it was a really powerful conversation to have with that committee. Also on Monday's committee meeting, the committee did vote to begin working on drafting 4 different bills. However, that committee is only allowed to move 3 bills forward to the full legislature coming up in January. The bills that they are currently considering and working on drafting, one of them would expand the definition of what a ranch is for property tax purposes, to also include swine and poultry under certain circumstances. There was a bill introduced last legislative session to do this, which was pulled from consideration. There's been a lot of negotiations between some of the ag groups and the county assessors to come to an agreement on language for that. So do we expect that to move forward? There was another proposal that's going to be drafted that would protect the geographic naming convention of Colorado agricultural products through the Consumer Protection Act. So think that, protecting the name Palisade Peaches, so you couldn't sell a Georgia peach under the Palisade Peach name, or Pueblo chilies or Rocky Ford melons, things of that nature. The third bill that was requested to begin drafting would bring the Colorado Farmers Market Association or somehow create more ties between CDA and the Farmers Market Association. It's not clear yet on what exactly that bill will do, but we're going to be having conversations with Representative Martinez, who brought that idea forward to kind of see if there's a path forward there. And then the last idea that was brought forward is a bill that would set standards on the percentage of renewable energy projects that are happening in different parts of Colorado. And if a percentage over a certain threshold, for example, if more than 40% of renewable energy projects are happening in Northeast Colorado, that would then trigger a requirement that any additional projects within that region would have to be agrivoltaics. So those are the 4 bill concepts that they are working on. They will vote on which, if any of those, to move forward to the full legislature at their October meeting. And do want to also thank Amanda for hosting that committee at her place the night before. So appreciate that. Let's see. Also kind of looking forward at the federal level, there is a potential, again, for a federal government shutdown at the end of this month if there's no agreement to either temporarily extend funding for the federal government or a full budget is passed, which is highly unlikely at this point. We've become quite accustomed to going through this process every year, every couple of years. And so again, kind of looking at what that impact that might be on the department, but it's just something to have on your radar that, if there is a federal government shutdown at the end of the month, that likely will impact your ability to connect with our federal partners and our federal agencies. Next up, I do want to mention, it's touched on a little bit, but the tariff impacts on Colorado. The governor did issue an executive order, I believe last month, that directed his Office of State Planning and Budget to put forward a report outlining the impacts of tariffs on the Colorado economy. That report did come out a couple weeks ago and concluded that Colorado's effective tariff rate has increased from 3% in 2024 to about 21% in 2025. And in that report, it kind of outlines some of the impacts on agriculture directly. But one of the things it did note is that in the first half of this year, compared to the first half of 2024, meat-related exports from the state did fall by $38.9 million. So we are seeing some impacts there. We as an agency are also, per that executive order, collaborating with other agencies and working with some of our industry partners to better understand tariff impacts on agriculture specifically, and then also working on strategies that we can implement that will help mitigate some of the impacts on the ag sector there. And that will be, we'll be working on that over the next month, and those will be coming out later in October. Let's see. Next up, I do want to let everybody know that at the November meeting, we'll have 2 programs, our organics program, as well as our fruit and veg inspection programs, coming forward to you all to discuss some potential fee increases within those programs. I see a couple of hands up. Sorry. Feel free to jump in and if you have questions.
So George was first. Go ahead, George.
Yes, Jordan, I had a question about the enforcement of the farmers market deal. How do you tell a Palisade peach from any other peach or a San Luis Valley potato from some other potato? And is that going to fall on our fruit and vegetable inspectors, or how do they envision sort of enforcing that?
Those are all very good questions and similar questions that I have, George. I don't know at this point in time, and I think all of that is still to be worked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Harrison.
Jordan, just a question about the tariff survey. And I apologize, you may have said when the survey ended. Has the survey ended?
It has not. I think it's going to be open-ended. We're hoping people will fill it out kind of as soon as possible. We designed it in a way that will only take a few minutes to complete. But even after kind of this report came out, and even after kind of we developed some of our strategies, we still want to understand those ongoing impacts so that we can kind of better adjust kind of our strategies to that.
Sure.
And then the other reason why it's important to really have a better understanding of the tariff impacts is that those also then roll into the state budget projections for both the governor's office and the legislature that do then impact
Yeah.
the state budget as a whole.
Well, I guess my question was, are there resources, maybe it's just the printed out survey, but are there resources that sort of tying into um, Joe's presentation about, that we could be bringing to the various ag meetings that we're going to be going to this fall and have out at conferences and, you know, offered, over the winter. Just my gut says, at least my experience on our farm is that I anticipate the largest tariff impact to be coming. This is the season when we're buying a lot of materials, when we're doing a lot of repairs, when we're doing, X, Y, and Z. And so I kind of don't, I anticipate we are going to feel the tariff and inflation situation the most coming up in the next 6 months, probably. At least that's what I'm saying on our farm. Anecdotally, the auto parts store is saying they can't get parts. The irrigation supply place is saying they're low on parts. We're starting to see things, but for us. I get the feeling that the biggest hurt is on the horizon. So, anyways, just that was why I wanted to ask about the deadline as well as what the if there's ways that we can bring this to some of the ag meetings and conferences that many of us will be participating in over the next couple months.
Yep. And yeah, and thank you for all of that. I really do kind of appreciate that perspective, and kind of it's a really good reminder of how quickly things can change as well, and kind of how those impacts change over time. We'll definitely kind of circle back with our markets team who's kind of leading this effort to make sure that we have that kind of strategy built in for tracking things going forward, and it's not just a single point in time, then we're done. In addition to kind of as we develop that strategy, making sure that we have kind of information and resources that's available to all of you and kind of our staff for all of these meetings that are going to be coming up later this fall and into the winter.
Yeah, and one quick addition to that, we did have a deadline and we still do on the initial push because we are submitting a report to the governor. We did extend the deadline. I'm still seeing some of the previous deadlines out there. So I think we pushed it back to this week for the report. But to Jordan's point, we're going to be taking stories well beyond that deadline. So just know if you're seeing that online, just keep sending it out and submitting it. And Harrison or anybody else, if you want a printed copy to bring with you to fall conferences, happy to get that out to folks as well.
Yeah, maybe in the follow-up to this, you could send a printable PDF or something. That'd be great.
Colleen?
Yeah, I think just to piggyback off of Harrison, when with the uncertainty of the markets, end of the year, people are considering about prepaying fuel, prepaying seed ahead of time, those kind of things. And with the uncertainty of the markets, I think that's a big factor as well.
All right. It's got a couple more updates to get through real quickly here if there's no additional questions or comments on that. I was just starting to talk about at the November meeting, we are going to have two programs, the organics program and fruit and veg inspection programs coming forth to let you all know about a proposal to increase fees in both of those programs by about the rate of inflation over the past year. Both of those programs, just as a reminder for folks, are cash funded programs, which means that the revenues generated by those programs do need to match kind of our expenditures in those programs in each year. And just like everybody else in every, in the country, we're dealing with costs going up. And again, we need to be able to cover those costs for those programs to keep them going. So again, those proposed increases will be kind of at or near the inflation rate. And we'll be providing kind of much more detail to all of you in November. I just wanted to kind of preview this so that you're aware that those proposals will be coming to you. There is a slight difference between those two programs. The fee for the organics program does have to go through a formal rulemaking. So after we update you in November, then we would have to initiate kind of a formal rulemaking process on that. As far as the fruit and vegetable inspection program, those fees are approved by you as a commission. And so any proposal coming forward to you would also ask for a decision made by the commission. So again, this is just a very quick preview that will be coming down the line, and you'll get a lot more information about the need for those proposals and what the funds will be used for in your packet for the November meeting. I also did want to mention that both the commissioner and myself were down at the State Land Board meeting last week to talk about how CDA and the State Land Board can better partner and collaborate together. It was a fantastic meeting. Talked about kind of all the different areas where we can be furthering our relationships and furthering the agricultural mission of the State Land Board. I do want to give a big shout out to Evan and the Conservation Services team, who have already been reaching out and offering support and working with staff at the Land Board on a number of various areas, including kind of incorporating some of our soil health and other agrivoltaics programs into some of the work that the State Land Board is doing, as well as ensuring that lessees are aware of the programs that they are able to take advantage of here at CDA. So really looking forward to building on that collaboration and partnership as we move forward. And the final thing I wanted to note for all of you is that the governor's proposed budget for next fiscal year, starting next July, will be released on November 1st of this year. So at your next meeting in November, I'll provide an overview of the CDA's budget request as part of the governor's overall budget proposal, as well as a summary of our legislative agenda items that we will be looking to pursue next legislative session. So with that, those are the updates I have for today, and I'm happy to entertain any additional questions you all have.
All right, Simon, I think you're on mute. Sorry.
Okay, I thought I took it off. Thank you. Okay, any other questions for Jordan at this time? Thank you, Jordan. Moving on to the next agenda item for the recruitment of two commission members to address the board positions for the next meeting in November. I believe, Kate, you're going to address this one?
Yep, thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
So per our bylaws, I select two commission members who will make up the nominating committee. And I could just select you all, but I thought I'd leave you the chance to volunteer before you're voluntold. So this is my request to you. For those of you who are new or who haven't been part of the nominating committee, it's a committee of two, but of course you can't meet together because of sunshine laws and you're conducting board business. So essentially I talk to each of you separately and you give me your input about who you would like to move forward to serve in our officer roles for this coming year. Again, we'll vote on those officer roles in November. So we'll essentially take the time between today and our November meeting. You'll have that time to put forward a proposal to me. I'll work out any discrepancies between our two members, and then hopefully we'll move forward with a unified slate to present to the whole body in November. So with that, and I should say that being on the nominating committee does not preclude you from serving in an officer role. So you can also nominate yourself. You can also decide not to serve on the nominating committee because you would like to serve as an officer. However that works for you. You are not precluded in serving by being on the nominating committee. So with that, do I have anyone who would like to serve on the nominating committee for this coming year?
I'll help you out, Kate. Catherine.
Thanks, Catherine.
Kate, I can help too.
Okay, great. Thanks, Harrison. You guys kept that real painless. Appreciate it. I'll follow up with each of you and we'll figure out next steps. And then I also need to run to the airport. So I'm going to be signing off here in a few, but obviously you're in great hands with the rest of the CDA team. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Commissioner. Fly safely. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the next agenda item is discussion of CDA's priorities. I know we've had a lot of discussion with Hollis and Jordan and Kate's. Is there any other members that would like to add to this priority list that we've already heard today? Okay, seeing that, I'm just gonna mention, Hollis, you had mentioned earlier about the security concerns. I think that's important. Keep that on the radar. I'm glad to hear that. And Riley's comments earlier on the input costs and the prices of commodities. And I think we're all dealing with it here in the state of Colorado, and we don't know what the future has in store for moisture. I know we, for one, here in Southwest Colorado, are really dependent on the water availability. But I think the work that Mr. Sakata is doing, being able to identify agricultural leaders in the state of Colorado having to deal with financial burdens and how they need to pay what bills or that's really a concern, I think, moving forward. So I think it's important that we keep that on our radar on that type of work, dealing with people that are having to deal with the financial burden of trying to keep farms and ranches afloat. So I'm glad to hear that. And I don't know if there's any other comments on the CDA priorities at this time. Okay, seeing none, it's 1:54. It looks like it's break time, and we'll just reconvene at 2 o'clock. So we'll just take a 5-minute break. All right, thank you. We'll see you in 5 minutes.
Thank you, Simon.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on into commission business. There's the action item for rules pertaining to the administration and enforcement of the Produce Safety Act 8 CCR 1202-17. Dwayne Sinning.
Good afternoon. Thanks for your time today. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
All right. The proposed rule changes are necessary to help us address the threat to human health from foodborne illnesses and add clarity in the rule. The changes include additional definitions, added incorporated by reference materials, language clarifying the broad authority provided in the Act to protect public health and prevent covered produce from remaining or entering the stream of commerce, the increased dollar threshold for the exemption from the rule, and some stylistic and language tints updates. A red line copy of the proposed rule was provided in your packet, so I'll spare everyone from me reading the proposed changes and summarize what's included. Under Part 1, 3 additional definitions are proposed: adulterated, imminent threat to human health, and regulated person. The definition for adulterated was previously part of 7.2 in reference to the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act without the clear language. The addition of the definition helps just clarify that. Imminent threat to human health is a new term used to define when something significant or a threat to human health exists. It is consistent with the meaning in the language used by the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment and their public health authority when they address threats to human health. And the final definition is regulated person. This definition clarifies that persons who are not registered in the state program are still covered by the state rule and the Food Modernization Act as it was incorporated by reference, and is subject to state, not federal authority. The term regulated person has been applied to several parts of the rule, including other definitions where it's appropriate. Part 2 contains some style and content changes. The only added adoption by reference is of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Code Act, where adulterated food is referenced. This was previously found, as I mentioned, in Part 7.2 of the rule, which has now been removed there. Part 3 changes the maximum allowable level for a grower before they become a regulated person. This provides Colorado growers with a consistent threshold that is the same as our surrounding states and allowable nationally. Failure to adopt this section would put some small growers at a disadvantage. Changes to Part 7 include the regulated person previously mentioned and the removal of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act where adulteration was previously referenced. Similar to Part 7, Part 24 aligns language with the new definitions as well as grammatical changes for tense. It also adds reference to new Part 25. New Part 25 of the proposed rule clarifies the actions provided under the broad authority found in the Act to protect human health beyond the civil fines that we may impose under Part 24. This part outlines corrective action plans, sampling, stop sale, recall, embargo, quarantine, and sampling and how they apply. This clarifies in rule the Department of Ag's role on the farm. Part 26, as with other parts, changes the registered to regulated person. And that kind of summarizes the proposed rule changes. The program did conduct several outreach activities in advance of the rule hearing that was held on August 28th, including the CDPHE to ensure the definitions were consistent in meaning as with public health and to get their support. The State Produce Safety Committee, several industry trade groups. Town hall was held on June 23rd. We made a presentation to CFVGA and CSU's Food Safety Committee. And then we also included in the June, July, and August produce safety newsletters to cover over 900 qualified exempt, micro-exempt, covered growers, as well as interested parties who've registered with the program. The only comments we've received to date have been comments of support. And with that, I'll take questions before asking for your support for adoption.
Okay, any questions at this time for Mr. Sinning? There's a Harrison.
Thanks, Dwayne. Hey, I was reading over this, and I may be missing it. So by all means, tell me if I'm wrong. But there's definitive language about the CDA being able to take action even if there is a perceived imminent threat to public health, they can put forward a cease and desist, even if there hasn't been like an outbreak on the end consumer end of things. If they witness something that they think requires a cease and desist preeminently, they can do it. But I didn't see anywhere in there the process for an appeals process for the consumer or for the regulated person. Is that included anywhere?
No, Harrison, it's part of just the process you'd go through. You do the sampling and it's kind of addressed, but not specifically addressed.
Sure.
Where it says If the produce subject to stop sale, recall, embargo, or quarantine is found not to be adulterated or associated with a violation that poses an imminent threat to public health, it shall be released. And that's in 25.134.
Sure. I guess it's just, and I'm sure that this only is going to apply to 0.01% of cases, but, as a perishable fruit grower, it would be a cease and desist would be even if the process took 7 days, a cease and desist would be a really significant deal. And obviously, again, 99% of the cases, a the inspector is going to see something that requires that they can say is going to result in an imminent public health outbreak. But let's say even 1% or somewhere around there, percent of the cases there's a mistake, and me as the grower, proceeding with the following the procedure that you just outlined could still be of massive consequence. So and I know that this is not the form to do it. I should have done this at one of the comment periods, but it sure as heck seems like in that rare instance that there should be an appeals process.
Yeah, Harrison, if I can interject. So I'll tell you about a case we kind of have without naming anybody. We've run across a situation that would apply in this case, where someone has a restroom facility that is draining into the field.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the proof while we're there and they're harvesting to do anything, and the time it takes to get a test and get back that produce, as you said, is perishable. It'll be on the shelves in the store in some cases by then. So we take it very seriously that we wouldn't use this except in those extreme cases, that we'd go through a process to do sampling or do whatever we needed to prior to doing an embargo. But in those rare cases that there seems to be an imminent threat to human health, we would have to take an action to ensure that consumer safety above all is protected.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think my judgment, I think that the judgment call of the inspectors and of the department as a whole is the training is there and should be good to really identify the situations like you're saying. That it's just a little bug on the back of my head that says, man, it would be good to, if there's a misunderstanding, if the inspector's having a bad day, if something happens, to at least, and the grower is like 1,000% sure that that something is being misrepresented or misunderstood, that they have an appeals process. But anyways, like I said, it's probably too little too late.
I see Katie has her hand raised. She may be able to add something to this.
Yeah, hi, Dwayne. Thank you so much. Hi, Harrison. This is Katie Davis, counsel for the department. I just wanted to let you know that in statute, there is an appeals process for a cease and desist order. 3577-108 outlines the cease and desist order process when violations occur and a cease and desist order is appropriate. There is a protesting mechanism. A person can request within 30 days of the order to have a hearing on the cease and desist to determine whether a person has violated Article 77. So to the extent that you're asking about whether they can appeal a cease and desist order, there is that mechanism in statute, if that helps answer your question.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, I guess that does. I mean, far that sounds horrendous to go through that process, but I'm glad it exists. So yeah, Mike, I feel satisfied. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Harrison.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. At this time, there's a suggested motion. If there's any discussion needed before vote. So seeing none, I would like to open this up for a motion.
This is Catherine. I move that we support the amendment to the fruit and vegetable inspection process. I don't have the suggested amendment in front of me. Thanks.
Okay.
I will second. This is Amanda.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Motion made by Catherine, second by Amanda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, all opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion carried. And there was a suggested motion that will be put in the notes there. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dwayne. Okay, moving on to the next action item on the agenda. The Bureau of Animal Protection Agent Confirmations. This will go to Dr. Courtney Deal.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Joe
morning.
Stafford, Director of the Division of Animal Welfare, sitting in for Dr. Courtney Deal, who got called away on important business this afternoon. I would like to put forward Kevin Stevenson, who's employed by the Humane Society of the Pikes Peak region as an animal law enforcement officer. He's been in that position since May of 24 as a new Bureau of Animal Protection agent. And then the second candidate is Sarah Angel, and she works for the Arapahoe County Animal Services, been in that position since February of 24. Both of these candidates exceed the minimum requirements, and myself and Dr. Deal would like to recommend their appointment as Bureau of Animal Protection agents.
All right, thank you, Joe. There's also a suggested motion on this action item also.
Chairman, this is Colleen. I move that the commission approve the commissioner's appointment of Kevin Stevenson and Sarah Angel as presented by Dr. Deal and Joe Stafford to be agents of the Bureau of Animal Protection.
Thank you, Colleen. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Nick. Motion made by Colleen and second by Nick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed, same sign. None seen, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, that takes care of the two action items, and we'll move into commission member updates. Have any volunteers? Harrison, go ahead.
Thanks so much. I'm actually going to have to go pick up my son here in just a second, so I'll be switching over to phone. Update from Fruit Country. The season supplies across the season seem to stay high. Demand also seemed to stay high. However, there was some sort of critical periods in early August where supply outpaced demand, and I know a number of people ended up with more fruit in their cooler than they could move, and that's never a good process. So as pretty normal, the balancing act of the fruit season continues. Apple season reports I'm getting from most of the apple growers that I've talked to, in addition to myself, say that apple crop is down from definitely from last year, and that there's and in some cases down below people's expectations. That likely it's a result of the sort of biennial nature of Honeycrisp, which is kind of the only apple worth growing anymore. and as well as some freeze issues and other errant things. Drought is impacting a number of growers, at least in Delta County, ourselves included, and that's also leading to some poor conditioning in harvest. So we lost water on August 13th. It was enough to get us through peach season, and we've gotten a couple of rainstorms that have gotten us through Gale and Honeycrisp season. We're relatively worried about the later season crops, and that's where we're seeing some damage and some quality issues. Um, on the note about drought, uh, we're dealing with a reservoir that is sedimenting in a it's sort of the poster child for sedimentation, and I've brought it up during these Ag Commission meetings before, and I just wanted to uh, provide a little bit of a narrative to the Ag Commission about what's going wrong. Obviously, it's sedimenting, that's going wrong, but beyond that, we actually have funds that the state has approved through the Colorado River Irrigation Storage Project to start dredging the reservoir. Um, we are hung up right now in the NEPA process because the the bureau in our area has only two environmental staff left and zero archaeology staff left. So we have we know what we need to do to work on desediment, to work on dredging and desediment, the desedimentizing process of the reservoir. We have funding to do it. We can't move forward because there is no federal staff to move forward with the NEPA project process. Um, the the uh, the and then whatever the Bureau is able to do is then also has to be approved of by the Army Corps, and the Army Corps is short-staffed as well. We were told by the person working on it that all of the staff resources that they have are being dedicated to the, and I'm going to butcher this, but it's the Navajo water rights. Um, to working on the Navajo water rights settlement, which isn't due until 2029. So there's without staffing changes at the Bureau, without being able to renew these some of these positions, we're just going to continue to watch as our water storage loses capacity year after year, and it is just so frustrating. Um, on a lighter note, we are seeing some grant funds unfrozen. I've reported out before on the Farm Labor Stabilization Pilot Program. We're seeing some growers that were participants in that program, of which there were more in Colorado than any other state, amazingly, begin to see payments. I think some people still have a ways to go. It's been a pretty disheartening process with lots of up and downs, but some of those funds do seem to be coming loose and making their way to farms and ranches. Um, that's I sort of mentioned it before, I'm maybe some of you have been seeing it. We have not felt like we've been hit real hard yet by tariffs and inflation, but there's lots of murmurs, and this is the most expensive season coming up for that we're going to see the impacts um, of tariffs and inflations. And then another on the positive note, there was a shift in the speaking of expensive things, labor, which is our most expensive cost. There was a shift recently at the federal level, basically the erasure of a memo. Um, for the H-2A program that is now going to um, allow for staggered entry, which is something that we have not had the chance to do for a long time. and I don't know when the last time staggered entry was allowed, but staggered entry is now going to be allowed again. So a single H2A application will be able to bring in two groups or more groups of people, which, for a farm like ours is really great because, we would like to hire so many people from March until June, and then in June we start harvest and we start packing, and our staff capacities go up. So what farms have been doing is either submitting two very costly applications, one for the first group and one for the second group, um, or they've been like what we do, which is hire the first group hire a single H2A group, and then during the harvest and packing season, hope that you can find local workers, which is always a bit of a crapshoot. So anyways, I think that the staggered entry thing is going to be really great for people who work with the H2A program and who work with H2A workers. Um, so that I think is basically everything I have to report. We're kind of winding down. Oh, I guess the only other thing is I'd like to apologize for not participating in the rifle meeting. We were having some health concerns with my son, and we're actually in Colorado Springs the day of the meeting, doing some diagnostics at Children's down in Colorado Springs, and I had told Kate that I thought I was going to be able to make it on the phone, but it just wasn't happening. So anyway, sorry I missed the last meeting. Good news is we think we're in a good space with Ezra, and I think that we've hopefully cleared the health hurdles that we were worried about earlier on. So that's me.
Okay, thank you, Harrison.
Thanks.
Simon, can I go next? Because I
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
feeling I'm going to have a set of twins getting off the bus come flying in the door here in a second.
Okay, Corbin, go ahead. Priorities, right? Priorities, got to keep them.
What's that?
I said our priorities. The
Well,
person you have, that's a
if
priority.
they come in here, my computer's going to fly everywhere and everything. So who knows? I'm glad to hear Ezra's going to be okay,
Yes.
Harrison. That's good to know. I am in Iowa. I think I've told y'all before that my daughter and her husband are in the process of adopting twin 5-year-olds, a boy and a girl. And so I came out here to help them, and they've moved into a new house. So I came out to help them move and do some of that transition. So instant grandma here. As the meeting was going on, I was sitting here watching it rain. I'm in a suburb of Des Moines, and it's interesting how it just starts to rain and then it quits, starts to rain and it quits, and rained last night. And so it's just different kind of water situation in Iowa than what we deal with in Colorado. I'm going to look at my phone for notes. Not only have we inherited twins, but the big news for us in August was our son Tyson got married. And so that was a lot of fun to get that process, have all that celebration. Kent and I hosted a German scientist from Germany this past month, and her focus is on farm economics, and her research, she was out here researching with Colorado State, and her research interest was on farm biodiversity action. And she was trying to understand a bit more about conservation methods and how the implementation of those methods were with Colorado farms and ranches. So we took her around our farms and talked, and it was a great time to talk about both of our industries and everything, and how it's going on in Germany and how it's going on in the United States. And a little, of course, if you know my husband, it was a little bit of political conversation with her. So that was real interesting as well. Let's see, what else have we been doing? Then the next day, Kent and I were invited to CSU to talk to an ag economics class, and 40 wonderful students with excellent questions. They gave us questions before, talking about all the diversity of conservation, farming, what's next generation, all those kind of things. So that was real interesting to do as well. I'll back it up a little bit. I did go down to the state fair and went to the Centennial Farm celebration. That was real nice, and went over to the Commissioner's Graze. And so it was nice to visit with people, see everything that's going on with the state fair and how that all transpires. And every year it's a new adventure and fun to see what's going on there. Hollis mentioned a little bit about ag in the classroom. And if you have not heard, the executive director, Jennifer Sharpie, has resigned. And so the board is looking to what the next steps are to a replacement for that. Let's see what else. Aggie Days, went up to Colorado State Aggie Days, watched CSU barely pull off a win with UNC. And but once again, great food and fun out in the Aggie Day part with all the representation from all the different commodity areas. So that was a good day as well. I've started my work with the Annie's Project. I've had a Annie's Project advisory board meeting, and I've been selected to serve on the curriculum committee. So I'm anxious to see where those next steps go with developing other kinds of curriculum to put out there for the project. Back home, we've gotten a little rain last night, I guess. Early beets is starting to be harvested, as is corn. So that's a positive thing. I did want to share an email, and maybe Hollis or Jordan and you guys can help me with this. I received an email from, hang on just a minute here. Oh, I'm sorry. From Sam Hahn with CDA. And he was asking about if the commission members, he's a grant program manager at CDA. And he is, they're preparing to open applications for the Ag Workforce Development Program. And we were hoping that the Ag Commission could help spread the news on that. And maybe Hollis or Jordan or anyone could help, or Billy could help explain a little bit more about how we as Ag Commissioners could, as Ag Commission members could help with this application process. And what I did is I sent it out to anybody involved with, it's having to do with internships, paid internships, and they're offering some, the internships have to be educational experience of at least 130 hours. Interns must be a student, recent graduate, or a beginning farmer or rancher, and can't be a current employee. But it sounds like a great opportunity for people out in the farming and ranching businesses to become a part of this and receive some incentives. What I did is I sent it out to people that I thought would possibly be interested. Hollis, I don't know if you can address this a little bit more, but I'm wrapping up. So Hollis, if you can address this a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, really quick, as Kate mentioned, we talked about our Next Gen Ag Leadership portfolio of programs. This is one of them. It's been around for a few years. Our Ag Workforce, our Ag Leadership Development Program is our internship program. Last year we did 66 internships, in which we provide, I think, up to $5,000 match paid internships for ag businesses. And we match up ag businesses looking for an intern with students who want to be interns. I will provide an update on this program again in November, but it's a really great program. I think like 80% of the students that go through it say they intend to have a career in ag. 90% report back that their experience as an intern is going to help them in their career. So we're just gearing up for the next round to get businesses and find the students to play matchmaker. So Sam, who's a relatively new but doing an amazing job as the program manager, has reached out for you to spread the word to get people interested in either internship or having an intern. Is how I would say this, but I can circle back with Sam as well.
And the application period is October 1st through the 31st. So
that sounds about right.
If you can provide us with the website, and that way everybody could maybe share it, that'd be great.
I will make sure we put all that into the follow-up email.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And
Thanks,
Simon,
Colleen.
I think that's it for me. Thank you.
No, thank you, Colleen. Your family's growing.
I'll go next if it's
Thank you.
okay with everyone. I have kind of a lot. So Joe mentioned the event at Fitch Ranch. That's going to be on September 30th. It's filling up fast. So if people are interested, contact me. We have gotten a forecast of snow for the day before in partial. So I think what we're planning on doing is moving the morning sessions to Fitch Ranch Market and Cafe in Granby, and then moving out to the farm in the afternoon. It's going to be, it's actually hosted mostly by Forest Service at this point, but Halter will be there, as well as representatives from Fence, Snaplands, which is a monitoring company, and then Enriched Ag, which is also a monitoring company. And we're going to be talking about the use of virtual fence and virtual monitoring in rangeland management and grazing management. So we're working on a pilot project with the Forest Service and with CSU, looking at the efficacy of virtual fence for grazing management and rangeland monitoring. So this project will continue for 5 years on the Fitch Ranch. We're currently using Halter fence. We need to increase our stocking rate. We're not quite sure how we're going to get more cattle in this cattle market, but we'll might be sending out a request for partner grazers on this project, but I'll let you know about that. Anyway, if anybody's interested in attending that, contact me and I will get you on the list and make sure you get the schedule for the day and where to meet. So that's that at the Fitch Ranch. Then I don't know if anybody else is following it, but the USDA put out a farm to school grant program. Kind of disappointed in the grant program because the funds are very limited in it, and it's aimed towards creating the infrastructure to get more local food into to schools, and only 10% of the funds are actually going to go to the purchase towards local food. And I think they're kind of behind the times because most of the schools now have the infrastructure to use local food. What they don't have is the money to buy it. So everybody's a little disappointed in their new programs. And I think it sort of points out that they're not really awake at the wheel. They don't really know what's going on in the local food and school system or the local food assistance programs. So the other thing I wanted to bring up is at the processing plant at Fitch Ranch in Craig, we have workers from, I think, 5 different countries on H-2As. Some of them are actually US citizens of different descent. And we also have H-2B workers. They're continually harassed on their trips around town and around the county. They get pulled over probably monthly by the sheriff in Moffat County. They don't feel welcome in the community because they are continually harassed by law enforcement. We have not had any ICE agents, but the local law enforcement seems to be, sort of taking their place and just harassing these people that all have legal papers. So that's been a real downer over the summer. And, they stop the same people over and over, and it's just ridiculous. They're obviously harassing them. The next thing I want to bring up is meat prices. So as you've all heard, that cattle prices are really high. Imports are shut down from Mexico, live cattle. Brazil is facing a 50% import tariff on meat. And so everybody in the cattle business is doing well. The feeders are doing well. The processors are another story. So right now, what we've encountered in selling local meat is that our price is at, or it has to be profitable for the supply chain. Right now, the big processors are not profitable on their prices of meat. They're losing money. This is actually very anti-competitive. We've lost accounts because the big processors are able to hold their price at below cost, while the little processors cannot do that. So I have 2 restaurants this week that we normally would work with. Their price point is $4.50, which is below the cost of the cattle that they buy to produce the meat. obviously we can't do that. So it's getting really frustrating to deal with this anti-competitive behavior. I mean, they're selling ground beef at below the cost of just the cow. And that's ridiculous and extremely unfair. So I'm happy to see that there's some antitrust actions going on at the federal level, but it's not enough. And, you know, again, I'm going to say this again, the concentration in the meat business, and they're continuing to try to put smaller processors out of business. So other than that, we've gotten some rain on the Western Slope. There have been people bringing their cows down early. If the grazing allotments are like 9,000 feet and below, they haven't gotten a lot of rain. We're up higher than that, and so our range looks pretty good. But like some of the other ranches that I work with are having to bring them down, having to cull or buy feed. Feed costs are going up because of the droughts and fires. So a lot of cattlemen, while prices are good to sell, that's not really what they want to be doing. They want to be growing their herds, and they just can't in these times. Third cutting of hay is going on in the Grand Valley right now. We've gotten good hay crops through the season, but again, the price is increasing due to fires and drought in other areas. I guess that's all I can say. So that's my update, and thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
I'll go if no one else wants to go at the moment.
All right, thank you.
Again, I'm Amanda, and I'm coming to you from Wheat Ridge, where it's really just end of the season harvesting of tomatoes and all sorts of other things out of my garden and other things. Something that has been affecting my neck of the woods is that there has been a new upsurge in sort of anti urban ag actions in the local area, and there was a movement to ban roosters in Wheat Ridge that we've been working on for the last couple weeks. And I'm happy to say that Wheat Ridge has found other ways other than demonizing specific ag animals out of the urban environment. That's actually something that I personally have been working on in Wheat Ridge for many years, since buying the farm here in Wheat Ridge about 15 years ago. And it's just really made me realize that it's something that we probably need to be more vigilant on all around the state, especially as we have more people moving into rural areas and into the mountains, because these are code enforcement rules that come up very quickly, and often ag and local ag is not considered when whether it's nuisance or noise or smells or all the other things start to happen in code enforcement in an urban environment. And so I've just been thinking a lot about, at least here in Wheat Ridge, we've worked hard on having code enforcement that is amenable to both urban dwellers and urban producers, and just thinking about how we might, or CDA might, communicate to local government entities on, especially as we have more outward development in all of our cities, just how urban folks and urban producers can live together copacetically. So that's what's happening here. And other than that, we also got some rain last night, and just continuing to try and produce in the urban environment. Thanks.
Thank you, Amanda. Next, Elena or Nick?
Yeah, I can go next.
Thank you, Elena.
Well, Catherine, I'm so sorry to hear that has been happening in your community. I think that's a similar thing in our community. The San Luis Valley used to be really like low key for ICE and everything, and I guess they hired like 4 new agents, and it's just been really horrible, and a lot of people are afraid to go to work. So that makes it really sad that it's happening elsewhere, because a lot of that community is kind of basically just had to go into hiding and stuff. So just a shame. I want to also apologize. I have been really MIA this summer. This is a bit like a report on me, and I'm not trying to be self-centered, but I've just had a horrible situation happen on the farm. So I actually got one of the food access grants. That was awesome. And I was able to open up a little retail space on my farm. And then in June, I hate to use these words, but a person who has serious mental health issues and is dangerous to society decided to target me, stalk me, and try to maybe kill me. I don't know. And so I had to move the business, which is, I'm trying to see it as an opportunity, even though it was a really unfortunate situation. So I guess I'm just asking the Ag Commission to, I have a little GoFundMe just because I had already started the store and now I have to restart it, which is going to cost me a little bit just because this is a little bigger space and a little bit bigger project than I had originally planned. And so, yeah, so just I hope to see you someday out in the area if you do come. The new location is going to be in Antonito instead of there on the farm. So I'm a little nervous about it just because I think Simon and I talked and a couple of you else had talked was I like to do small projects. And so little tiendita on my place was great because it was right on my property and it was really small and not a lot of overhead. So this is going to be a bigger project, but hopefully fruitful and a great way to create community around food and fiber in the San Luis Valley. So that's basically all I have. Nothing too exciting other than just I apologize. I've missed a bunch of meetings. This happened and I just have been kind of in survival mode. Me and my kids had to leave my house, and so we can't be at home anymore. So it was just one of those summers where it was very unexpected. I didn't know the person. I'm hoping the DA does right by me and make sure that he needs help. Like he really needs to be either in an institution or something, but I hope that things will come out. They let him out on bail recently, and I hear he's causing problems in where he is right now, which is in another area. So he's just he's an individual who needs a lot of help, and I hope they can either remove him from hurting other people or get him some help that he needs. But that's all I have for my update, and hopefully brighter things in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Elena, we'll be hopeful things work out for the best for you. Okay. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Simon.
Nick? Okay, wait, Nick was on earlier. I'll go ahead and move through what's happening here in Southwest Colorado. The cattle will be returning to the farm here at the end of the month. We're supposed to move them here, believe it or not, this week, but we left them in the high country for a few more weeks. We did plant triticale as fast as we could to bring the cattle back home to the farm. The triticale is doing good, but we're having to haul water to one of the larger herds up in CSU rangeland. So we've got 350 pair there, but we're hauling water as we speak, and hopefully here at the end of the month when they return home, there'll be enough feed to keep them through the winter months, and we'll see what Mother Nature brings us as far as moisture moving forward. We are in the process of planting 500 acres of red winter wheat, half of what we wanted to. We just don't know what the outcome will be again next year. We are still running water, believe it or not. We did start off in April, just a small update at about 5,200 acre feet of water, which was our allocation at the time. Right now in September, we're sitting at a little bit over 13,000, which is a little over 50% of our water allocation. Due to the fact here, we've been able to, not only with our Dolores project allocation, but our acquisition of supplemental water, I think due to relationship building here in Southwest Colorado. And just to kind of give you an idea, we're dealing with Farm and Ranchers Project water allocation, DWCD's M&I lease, MVIC's Class A shares, Class A owned by Tribe, Class A leased from DWCD, and Class A leased from others, which has helped us through 2025 on a higher water allocation. We weren't able to use it in the early spring, being September already. We wrapped up our fourth cutting here a few days ago on the majority of the 2,000 acres, but we're able to go in next week with a fifth cutting at about 1,200 acres, which is a financial gain to us on our end. So we're grateful that it didn't start off good, but right now going into the end of the season, we were able to get a little bit more water. Bow and Arrow's doing fine up at the mill. Congressman Hurd was able to come down a few weeks back and toured the farm and spend a little bit of time with him and some of his staff here last month. Like I said, irrigation's going well on the farming end. We're working a lot of ground, just getting it ready. And then we also have 3,000 acres of fallow ground we're trying to get through. And we're looking at a couple of grants to help us once again through this fallow ground work that we have and a water bill that stares us in the face for a full water allocation, even though we got half our water. But that's something we'll work in-house on. Otherwise, we have had a little rain in the high country, but believe it or not, down here, very little. So that's kind of helped us as far as being able to continue to have our hay value added on our relative feed value still for dairy hay is kind of carrying us right now. And then some cattle sales this fall will help carry us through the winter. We do have a few irons in the fire as far as the Native American Affairs program on getting some new grain bins that we can go into some more value-added product and just get away from hay as much as we can because of the water use and go into some specialty crops, maybe some seed cleaning and seed production is kind of the direction we'd like to head, kind of like the mill's going with the value-added commodity there for the mill. And that's about it at this time that's going on here at Southwest Colorado. Nick, I see you're online.
Yeah, sorry about that. My internet's kind of bouncing in and out, but I'll keep it real short. Things are good in ranch country. Thankfully, we've had some timely moisture here. Spent a little bit of time dry in June and July, but we've kind of perked stuff back up around here, got some timely rains, and are kind of putting everything to bed, all the grass to bed before the good thing. And a lot of markets just amazing. I think everybody's sitting around waiting for whatever the black swan is that's going to crash it, or when we finally start seeing some demand destruction. But for the time being, times are good and trying to capitalize on that and take advantage. So really, I think that's about it. Don't have a whole lot else for you.
All right, thank you, Nick. I think that's everyone. So moving on into any open discussion or final comments at this time? Okay, seeing none. I believe our next meeting will be November 12th in person in Broomfield. So we will plan on that moving forward. And at this time at 2:50, I will adjourn the meeting at this time.
So Simon will want
Yes,
to have it moved to adjourn, correct?
Okay, will do.
You need a motion.
And yes, I need a
That's
motion.
what I mean. Yes, thank you.
Okay, no, thank
This is
you. I was ready to.
Turn off. This is Catherine. I move that we adjourn.
Thank you,
Colleen, I
Catherine.
second.
All right, thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Colleen. Seeing two motions. Moving forward with a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you. All opposed? Seeing none? Motion carries and meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
See you in
everyone.
November.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Colleen.
Thank you. Yes.